highlights, Steelers, Lions. Mitch Trubisky would get the final start of the preseason, and he would take advantage. Pick it up right in the first quarter. His speedster is Deontay Johnson.
Can't throw it better. 3rd and 2. It's man-to-man coverage. Look at the placement of that throw. It's absolutely perfect by Mitch Trubisky. Good start to this football game.
Yeah, Johnson would later leave with a shoulder injury. Doesn't appear to be serious. Speaking of injuries, here's T.J. Watt. This is a scary moment.
And very similar to the one we saw about a week ago from Kayvon Thibodeau, right, for the New York Giants. That sick block coming back across the line of scrimmage. Hopefully TJ is going to be just fine.
Yeah, Tomlin said neither injury appears to be serious. Let's go back to Trubisky then and the rookie George Pickens.
Yeah, I love George Pickens. Big physical receiver, the rookie out of Georgia. This time we saw the perfect throw to Deontay Johnson, back shoulder in that moment.
And then the tight end Freiermuth.
I love the aggressive kind of throw at the end of the first half. 2 high safeties, throw the ball down the middle of the field, make sure it's on his back shoulder. Another perfect throw by Trubisky.
Yeah, there's a nice 2-minute drill to finish up the first half with a touchdown.
Yeah, finish it. The ball placement on this one's really good, Green. Fading away to man coverage. Make sure you throw it really on the receiver's chest so he has the ability to frame that ball perfectly.
Trubisky's 6 for 6 on that final drive of the half. That would be his day. On would come the rookie Kenny Pickett, and he also looked very good.
Yeah, kind of rinse and repeat. Back shoulder go route for this offense. Beautiful location by Kenny Pickett.
That was Miles Boykin with the catch, and then later in the quarter you'll see Tyler Vaughns with the grab. So here
shocking, a back shoulder throw.
Trubisky 15 of 19, Pickens 10 of 14. Coach, what can you tell us?
I might, but you guys not going to have it today. Again, like I told you guys the other week, man, we're not going to make knee-jerk reactions and statements following a performance. We'll go through our proper professional procedure. We'll evaluate the game. We'll meet with our front office people. We'll have discussions. We'll talk internally. We'll talk external possibilities. We'll go through our normal procedure this time of year, and we'll disclose it to you at our leisure, to be quite honest with you.
All right, I mean, look, that's a very honest statement. Here are the numbers, all right, for whatever they're worth. They both played well in the preseason. Neither one threw a pick. Pickens has Pickett, I should say, had the 81% completion rate. So the numbers, pretty good. Bottom line, well, let's start with the information as we know it, which is to say, what do we know? We just heard Tomlin tell us not only is he not telling us, but he'll tell us when he feels like telling us, which obviously is his prerogative. What do we know?
My understanding is they went into camp, and this week, honestly, with Trubisky kind of in the lead, and he probably would have had to lose it or Pickett would have had to take it away from him. Look, our assessment, we can make knee-jerk assessments off one game, even though Mike Tomlin doesn't want to. I would say Trubisky didn't do anything to lose it, so my expectation would be that at some point here in the next few days, they'll make an announcement that Trubisky opens the season as the starter. We'll find out. Well, maybe they saw the key thing for people to remember. These preseason games are not all they're looking at, right?
Sure.
These guys are playing parts of
Practices.
3 preseason games. The practice and what they're doing in the meetings and all that kind of stuff, that matters a lot too, and we don't get to see all that.
So, Orlovsky, that's what we think will happen. What should happen? Who should the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers be week 1?
Yeah, well, Mike T wants him to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo like he does
wants
every
everybody
other
to
team.
trade for Jimmy Garoppolo.
The starting quarterback should be Mitch Trubisky. That being said, I don't think Mitch Trubisky did anything to give this job away, but nor do I think that Kenny Pickett did anything to go take it from him. Mitch Trubisky's been relatively better pushing the ball downfield, really good kind of end of the preseason performance. Here's the reality, though, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is the truth. It don't matter who your quarterback's going to be, okay? Your offensive line still is not very good. Your offense looks the same as it did last year. We're going to throw a bunch of short passes, and then we're going to take some go shots on the outside. Either quarterback is going to be playing under duress, so they've got issues no matter who the quarterback is. I think you start Mitch Trubisky, see what happens, and you feel relatively good. If it doesn't go well, Kenny Pickett's going to be the guy to step in, and I think he's mature enough to handle that transition.
What do you think, Mike T?
You have to start Trubisky because if Kenny Pickett starts and he has a bump in the road, you really can't bring him back this year. You start Trubisky, hopefully you make meaningful progress, and you just bring Kenny Pickett along.
Hold on. You said if they start Kenny Pickett and he struggles?
Yeah, you can't go back to him this year. You want him to get as much confidence in practice, making sure he has a mastery level of the offense. This is a team that has a very high floor but a low ceiling. When you think about Buffalo, Kansas City, the Chargers, and the Bengals, they're not going to be able to score with those teams. So the way they're going to win games this year is to run it, play great defense, and you can do that with Trubisky. Kenny Pickett's your future.
Yeah, 2 things. I think offensively, the best place either quarterback should be in is running no-huddle offense. And maybe it's not you do it all the time, but we saw it at the end of the first half. Trubisky looked way better running that 2-minute drive than it did all game. Here's the kind of the theory I have, though. You know, Kenny Pickett played a ton of college football in a city of Pittsburgh. He's beloved by that fan base right now. I don't think there's that much separation. Like, I could sit here and tell you guys honestly, if Mike Tomlin came out and said, we're going to start Kenny Pickett, I would not be sitting here going, that's an awful decision. Because I think he is mature enough to go through some of the challenges and the failures, and I just don't think that there's this much separation between Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, talent or production-wise.
We had this in New York. We had Vinny Testaverde. We drafted Chad Pennington very close to the same pick where Kenny Pickett was. We felt like every day he sat was a great investment in his future. Obviously, in Green Bay, you had Brett Favre, but Aaron Rodgers didn't play a lot his first 3 years. That turned out well.
I feel like what you're saying is that starting Pickett is the decision that's harder to unmake, which is to say, give it to Trubisky, hope it goes well. If it doesn't, it's easier to then make the transition to the rookie than it is to do the reverse.
I totally get that, but I also think it's dependent on who the rookie is. And everything you hear about Kenny Pickett, and because of the amount of starts that he has, because of his age and the maturity level that he has, I think he's capable of going through some of the rigors. And I get your Vinny Testaverde, Chad Pennington thing. Vinny Testaverde was like a 27-year NFL veteran when that happened, right? It was Mitch Trubisky. It's still, he's still relatively young in his career. And like I said, I don't think he's done anything to give the job away, but I don't think he's done anything to sit here and go, this is my job.
To your point about the offensive line, Trubisky's mobility is one reason they brought him in, right? Because they know about their offensive line. They know it's going to be an issue, and a mobile quarterback would help with that. So I wonder if that factors into the decision, too, his ability to maybe mitigate that a little bit.
And I'll tell you what else factors into it. I think we are all selling them short. I think you're selling them short, and I think you're selling them short. I think Trubisky is going to be the starting quarterback all year, and I think this team is going to make the playoffs. How do you like that?
I'll bet you whatever you want. This team is not making the playoffs. Their offensive line, their defense, no.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, who made the playoffs a year ago, are going to be better than they were a year ago.
So here's a stat that supports that. They missed 26 games on defense in terms of their starters last year. If they're healthy on defense, they're certainly going to be in the discussion. But
you guys know they play in the AFC, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just don't know how they score consistently, though. That's my biggest question.
All right, we're going to see. I have spoken, and Lord knows.
We got a bet. I don't know what the bet is.
We'll see. We'll come up with a wager as we go. In the meantime, we're going back to Brady here because we told you the players have named him the best in the sport. That's not the news today. It's what Brady is concerned. Meanwhile, the final auditions have been held. So who is the quarterback? And more important, how good are they going to be in Pittsburgh? We've got the answers. Plus, will the Festival of Flags finish the Cowboys and their head coach before the season is even over? Those are the questions. Here come the answers. We're ready to get up with you on this Monday. Delighted to be back and better than ever. And look who's here. All in house. Orlovsky is here.
I mean,
I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah. I told Mike T to put on his sneakers. He's going to be running around all morning.
I'm hydrated and ready to go.
I'd forgotten how tall Orlovsky was when he walked in.
And good looking.
Graziano, not quite as tall. Tannenbaum ready to go. We are jam-packed with a bunch of stuff today, and here's where it starts. While you were sleeping late last night, Tom Brady was named by his peers the best player in football. Need I remind you, he's 45 years old. It's the fourth time he has topped the NFL Network's top 100 players list. Again, voted on by the players. He led the league in passing yards. He led the league in passing touchdowns last season. A year ago at this time, Brady was ranked 7th. Patrick Mahomes was ranked number 1. This year, the two have basically switched spots with Brady at the top, and you see Mahomes down at number 8. Aaron Rodgers checks in at 3. Rams and Chiefs are the teams with multiple players in the top 10. Now, there is a lot to say about Tom Brady today and some of his comments of the weekend and some of the things that are going on in Tampa. We're going to say some of them a little later in this hour. But what is the first thing that we say, Dan, about a 45-year-old football player being named the best in the sport by his peers?
Yeah, it's an earned spot that's incredible to comprehend. You know, the guy that at his age still being voted by his peers. It's a big deal. This is not a popularity contest. Number 1 best player in the league. I think Patrick Mahomes being 8 is a little bit ridiculous. But the fact that Brady threw for 43 touchdowns last year, 5,300 yards, Green, you mentioned it, led the league in both the yardage and touchdowns. It speaks to how remarkable he's still playing or at the level that he's still doing it. But it's an absolutely earned spot for him.
And when you say it's not a popularity contest, that's both true and on some level maybe not as true. You made an interesting observation this morning.
It's absolutely a popularity contest. contest, but that speaks to Brady. I mean, like, you could see resentment and jealousy seeping in on a list like this, voted on by players. He doesn't engender that. And it's not a lifetime achievement award either. He led the league in passing yards and touchdowns last year, so he makes a strong case for it. I think it says a lot about everything he's accomplished and is still accomplishing that he can sit on top of this list at this point in his career.
Absolutely. And Graziano, to the point that Danny Orlovsky, to the point that Dan Graziano just made. You could easily see a player who is as highly regarded, who gets all the accolades and everything that he has gotten all this time and the money and all that. You could see other players resenting that. This list suggests, I think, to Dan and me, that the players don't view Brady that way. They view him not only with professional respect, but with personal respect as well.
Yeah, I think the professional respect is the thing that places him at the very top, because the players know how hard it is to perform, let alone to perform at the level that he has, at the age that he is. But my reason for saying it's not a popularity contest, because sometimes a list like the Pro Bowl is. Right. Where you're like, oh, he played okay, all of a sudden he's a Pro Bowl. This is guys who are sitting there saying, no, my teammate should be the number one guy, or I should be the number one guy. Brady being the number one guy is everybody saying, we have a tremendous amount of respect for what you've accomplished.
Guys busting their rear ends to try and win one Super Bowl ever in their whole careers. This guy's won 7.
For sure.
You tip your cap.
In the meantime, leave it to Tannenbaum to come up with some sort of slightly controversial spin on it.
Yeah, this is validation that he left the Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick and said, hey, I can win without you. This checks another box. Won the Super Bowl. I'm still the best player in the sport. And your greatness was helpful early in my career, but I just keep on going. I'm the best player, and I'm a world champion.
Which does beg the interesting question. If the players did the same vote for coaches, would Belichick finish number one?
I think he would be the most respected. I don't know if he'd be the most liked. I think Mike Tomlin's probably the perfect combination of those two.
All right, we'll see. We don't have to know the answer to that right now. But speaking of Tomlin, his team had its final dress rehearsal yesterday, and there's a lot of reason to pay close attention.